Good morning, and welcome back to this channel, the place where real science meets real life for seniors who refuse to simply accept aging without a fight. There's a specific kind of video that does incredibly well on this platform. Doctor explains 3 miracle drinks that fight cancer, complete with dramatic music and stats that sound too good to be true. And here's the uncomfortable truth about a lot of those videos. Some of the science in them is real, but it's been stretched, cherry-picked, or had its caveats quietly deleted to make the story sound more dramatic and definitive than the actual research supports. So today, I want to do something different. I'm going to walk you through 3 beverages that genuinely do have real peer-reviewed research behind them: green tea, turmeric, and pomegranate juice. I checked the actual studies, not just the headlines about the studies. And I'm going to tell you exactly what's solid, what's promising but early, and what's been walked back by better follow-up research, because that last category is something almost nobody in this space wants to talk about, and I think you deserve to hear it. Quick disclaimer, this isn't medical advice, and none of what I'm about to share is a cancer treatment or cure. If you're undergoing cancer treatment or managing any health condition, talk to your doctor before making major dietary changes. What I can offer you is an honest tour of real science, which I think is actually more useful and more interesting than another inflated miracle drink list. If that sounds good, let's get into it. And if you want more content like this, where I check the research instead of just repeating it, consider subscribing, because that's the whole point of this channel. The Science Foundation. Why these mechanisms matter. Before we get to the drinks themselves, it's worth understanding why researchers look at beverages like these in the first place, because the underlying biology is genuinely fascinating, even without exaggeration. Cancer isn't a single disease. It's a broad category covering over 100 distinct diseases, all sharing one core feature: cells that lose normal control over their own division and survival. Several biological processes are well established as contributing factors in cancer development. Oxidative stress, caused by unstable molecules called free radicals damaging DNA and cellular structures over time, is one. Chronic low-grade inflammation is another and this one is taken seriously at the highest levels of cancer research. A widely cited 2011 paper in the journal Cell, Hallmarks of Cancer: The Next Generation, explicitly identified tumor-promoting inflammation as one of the core enabling characteristics of cancer development, a framework that's shaped cancer biology research for over a decade. So, when researchers study whether a food or beverage has anti-cancer relevant properties, they're generally looking at a few specific things. Does it have antioxidant activity that helps neutralize free radicals? Does it have anti-inflammatory effects? And in laboratory studies, does it show any direct effect on cancer cell behavior, like slowing their growth or promoting their natural cell death process? All 3 of today's drinks have been studied through this lens. Let's go through them one at a time, and I'll be upfront with you about how strong the evidence is for each claim, because not all of it is at the same level. Drink 1. Green tea and EGCG. Green tea comes from the Camellia sinensis plant and, unlike black tea, undergoes minimal processing, which preserves more of its natural plant compounds. The most studied of these is a polyphenol called epigallocatechin gallate, or EGCG, and it genuinely has one of the larger research bodies behind it of any plant compound studied for cancer-related properties. In laboratory and cell culture studies, EGCG has shown the ability to inhibit the growth of various cancer cell lines, including breast, prostate, colon, and lung cancer cells, and to promote apoptosis, programmed cell death, specifically in cancer cells, while showing less effect on healthy cells in these models. EGCG is also a genuinely potent antioxidant. Some lab-based comparisons have found it considerably more effective than vitamin C at neutralizing certain free radicals in test tube conditions. Here's where I want to add an important distinction that often gets skipped. This is overwhelmingly cell culture and animal research, not large human clinical trials showing that drinking green tea treats or prevents cancer in people. That doesn't make it unimportant. laboratory research is how every cancer drug starts, and EGCG's mechanisms are well documented and reproducible across many independent labs. But it's a meaningfully different category of evidence than, say, a large human trial, and I think it's worth being honest about which category we're in. What about human population data? This is genuinely interesting. Japan has among the highest green tea consumption rates in the world, and large epidemiological studies, including a notable prospective study following over 40,000 Japanese adults, have found associations between higher green tea consumption and lower cardiovascular and overall mortality. These are real, published findings. The honest caveat is the same one that applies to most population studies. People who drink 5 or more cups of green tea daily may also differ from low-consumption groups in other ways: diet, smoking rates, activity levels. And researchers try to statistically control for this, but it's never a perfect substitute for a randomized trial. Population associations are a meaningful signal, not proof of direct cause and effect. So what's the honest summary? Green tea has substantial, well-replicated laboratory evidence for anti-inflammatory and antioxidant activity, plausible cell-level mechanisms against cancer cells, and supportive, though not definitive, population-level health associations in humans. That's a genuinely strong profile for a food-based intervention, and it doesn't require inflating a single number to make it compelling. If you want to prepare it well, steep for about 3 minutes in water around 160 to 180 degrees Fahrenheit rather than boiling water, which can degrade some of the delicate polyphenols. 2 to 5 cups a day is a reasonable, commonly used range in the research. Some research suggests milk proteins may bind to catechins and reduce their absorption, so if you want to maximize the polyphenol content, skip the milk. Drink 2. Turmeric, curcumin, and the piperine boost. A genuinely remarkable but nuanced story. Turmeric's active compound, curcumin, is one of the most studied natural substances in modern research. It genuinely has thousands of published studies behind it, spanning everything from inflammation to metabolic health to cancer biology. Curcumin is described by researchers as pleiotropic, meaning it interacts with multiple biological pathways rather than just one single target. The most well-established of these is its effect on NF-kappa B, a protein complex that functions as a central regulator of inflammation in the body. When NF-kappa B is chronically overactive, it drives the production of inflammatory signaling molecules. And as we discussed earlier, chronic inflammation is a recognized contributing factor in cancer development. Curcumin has been shown, across many cell and animal studies, to inhibit NF-kappa B activation, and broader reviews have found it can interfere with processes relevant to multiple stages of cancer development in laboratory models, including processes tumors use to build new blood vessels to sustain their growth. Now here's the part of the curcumin story that I find genuinely fascinating and where I want to slow down and give you the complete picture, because most videos stop halfway through it. Curcumin on its own has notoriously poor bioavailability, meaning your digestive system doesn't absorb much of it when taken alone. A well-known 1998 human study found that combining curcumin with piperine, a compound found in black pepper, increased curcumin's bioavailability in the bloodstream by 2,000% compared to curcumin alone. That number is real. It's frequently cited in legitimate research reviews, and it's a genuinely dramatic finding. But, and this is the honest caveat that I think matters enormously, that 2,000% figure comes from a single study measuring blood concentration over a short time window of roughly 15 to 60 minutes after a one-time dose. More recent pharmacology reviews have pointed out an important distinction. Higher blood concentration is not automatically the same thing as better delivery to the tissues where curcumin would actually need to act, or better clinical outcomes. It's a real and replicated pharmacokinetic finding, not a proven leap to 2,000% more cancer-fighting power. I think that distinction is important enough that I'd rather slow down and explain it than just repeat the impressive-sounding number and move on. What's the practical, honest takeaway? Combining turmeric with black pepper is a reasonable, low-risk, traditional practice with real pharmacological backing for improving absorption, and it costs nothing extra. Combining it with a fat source like milk also makes sense since curcumin is fat-soluble. The traditional golden milk preparation, warmed milk, a teaspoon of turmeric, a quarter teaspoon of black pepper, and optionally ginger and cinnamon, is a genuinely well-designed recipe built around real absorption science, even if we should be cautious about overstating exactly what that improved absorption translates to clinically. Drink 3. Pomegranate juice. A great lesson in how science progresses. This last one has, in my opinion, the most important and most commonly mishandled story of the three, because it's a textbook example of why looking at just one study can be genuinely misleading, and why following the full arc of research matters. In 2006, a team led by Dr. Alan Pantuck at UCLA published a study in the journal Clinical Cancer Research looking at men with rising PSA levels after surgery or radiation for prostate cancer, a sign their cancer might be progressing. 50 men drank 8 ounces of pure pomegranate juice daily, and the results were striking. Average PSA doubling time, a measure of how quickly prostate cancer markers were increasing, where a longer doubling time is better, increased from about 15 months before the study to 54 months during treatment. That's a real number from a real peer-reviewed study, and on its face, it's a remarkable result. Here's what almost never gets mentioned alongside that number, and what I think is the single most important thing in this entire video. That 2006 study was a single-arm trial. That means every participant drank pomegranate juice. There was no separate placebo group drinking a fake juice for comparison. Without a placebo group, it's genuinely difficult to know how much of that improvement was due to the juice itself versus other factors like increased attention to health during the study, natural variation in disease progression, or statistical regression to the mean. So here's where the story gets really instructive. The same lead researcher, Dr. Pantuck, went on to run a proper randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial, the gold standard of clinical research, published in 2015 in the journal Prostate Cancer and Prostatic Diseases. This time, men were randomly assigned to receive either pomegranate extract or a placebo, and neither the men nor the researchers knew who was getting which during the study. The result: no statistically significant difference in PSA, doubling time between the pomegranate extract group and the placebo group. The promising 2006 finding did not hold up under more rigorous testing. I want to be really clear about why I'm telling you this, because it's not to say pomegranate juice is worthless. It genuinely isn't. Pomegranate contains a high concentration of polyphenols, including punicolagens, which have real antioxidant properties, and there's separate, solid research, including a study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, showing reduced arterial plaque progression in people who drank pomegranate juice daily for a year, which is a meaningful cardiovascular finding. There's also legitimate, growing research interest in a compound called urolithin A, which gut bacteria produce from compounds found in pomegranate, and which has shown promise in research on mitochondrial health. But on the specific claim of pomegranate juice slowing prostate cancer progression, the claim that tends to get repeated as a slam-dunk fact, the honest, current state of the science is that an exciting early single-arm study did not replicate when tested properly with a placebo control. That's not a minor footnote. It's the difference between promising early finding and proven effect, and I think you deserve to know which one you're actually getting when someone cites this study to you. This is also, genuinely, one of the best real-world examples I can give you of why a single study, even a real one, published in a real, respected journal, isn't the same thing as settled science. The process of science correcting itself through follow-up research isn't a flaw. It's the system working exactly as it should. I'd rather show you that process honestly than pretend the 2006 number is still the final word. Bringing it together. What's actually worth doing? So, where does this leave us across all 3 drinks? Green tea has the most consistent profile across laboratory, mechanistic, and population-level evidence, even though large human cancer prevention trials specifically aren't the basis for most of its claims. Turmeric and curcumin have genuinely extensive research behind their anti-inflammatory mechanisms, with a real and well-documented but commonly overstated, absorption boost from black pepper. Pomegranate juice has real cardiovascular benefit evidence and an interesting still-developing research area around urolithin A, but its most famous cancer-related claim did not hold up in a properly controlled follow-up trial. None of that means you shouldn't enjoy these drinks. All three are reasonable, low-risk additions to a generally healthy diet, and the underlying compounds, catechins, curcumin, punicalagins, do have real, interesting biological activity worth knowing about. What I'd push back on is the idea that any beverage is a proven cancer-fighting tool on the strength of the evidence we actually have. The most defensible, honest claim is something closer to, these are foods with genuinely interesting research behind their antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties, worth including as part of an overall healthy pattern of eating, not a clinically proven intervention against an existing or developing cancer. If you take one thing from this video, I'd want it to be this. When you see a health claim online with an impressive, specific number attached to it, it's worth asking a simple question. Was this from a small early study, or has it been confirmed by follow-up research? The pomegranate story we just went through is exactly why that question matters, and it's a question that applies to nearly everything you'll see in this entire category of content, including, frankly, anything I tell you. So I'd encourage that same healthy skepticism here too. To sum up, green tea, turmeric, and pomegranate juice all have real, legitimate scientific research behind various aspects of their health properties. But the strength of that evidence varies a lot depending on exactly what claim you're looking at, and at least one of the most commonly repeated claims about these drinks did not hold up under more rigorous follow-up testing. That's not a reason to dismiss the topic. It's a reason to engage with it honestly, which is exactly what I tried to do today. None of these drinks replace medical care, and if you're managing any health condition, talk to your doctor before making significant changes to your diet. If this gave you a more honest picture than you expected, the like button helps more people find this version instead of the exaggerated one. Subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this. And let me know in the comments. Had you heard the full pomegranate story before, including the follow-up trial? I read every comment. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.